Hey you guys, we are going to talk about editing today. This is my very most favorite part of all of all of this. I love editing because it makes such a huge difference and it's so much easier than people realize. So this is going to be really fun. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be editing these pictures from this little shoot that we did of the girls painting. So we're going to go ahead and open Lightroom. Give it just a second. Also, I have recorded this video like 6 times now, so hopefully I've got it streamlined. It keeps not working, which is super annoying. Okay, so we're going to go right here. We're in Library. We're going to click right here on Import. And then I'm going to find that folder that has the pictures I need in it. It's on the desktop, so I'm going to come right down here, and I'm going to click on Girls Painting March 10th. Check all, so all the pictures are highlighted, and then go ahead and press Import. It's going to go ahead and put them all in there, and then I'm going to push Develop. And this is the module that's going to actually allow me to edit. So I'm going to choose the picture that I want to edit. I think I'm going to choose this one right here. Alright, we're going to come over here. So the first thing you're going to see is right up here, it's got all of your information for your image. So I shot it on the 85mm ISO at 1600, so it had to be pretty high. It was kind of dark in my house. And that means that I do have some grain in this picture. I shot it at 1.4 and at 1/320th of a second. I shot it at 1.4. This is not normal for me, but I really wanted like a cool kind of depth of field. So I wanted to be able to see just a little bit in focus and everything else out of focus. You can see most of it's not in focus, but just a little bit right here is. Okay, so the first thing we're going to use is we're going to grab this little dropper right here. And you are going to, this is so awesome. We've been talking yesterday about getting the right lighting in a indoor picture. This is going to help you get your white balance so good. So you just pick a part of the picture that's supposed to be white, click it, and it is taking a second. Oh, maybe it already did it. Okay, so if you click it on other things that aren't white, you'll see what it's doing. It's taking the picture and it's adjusting the white balance, assuming that this is you want this to be like a pure white color. So just depending on where, just kind of move it around. This is probably about where I want this to be. However, you can change the temperature, you can warm it up or cool it off, or add or take away green or magenta. Yeah, so I love this tool. It's so helpful. Okay, we're going to come down, and I'm going to come to exposure first. So I like my pictures to be nice and bright, so I'm going to bring that exposure up quite a bit. Alright, that looks good. And then I'm also going to bring up my contrast, usually between maybe like 8 to 15 or something, somewhere in there. The contrast is going to both brighten your brights and darken your darks. So it is going to, if you have like really light portions of your picture, increasing the contrast too much, it's going to make those really bright, and it's going to make your darks really dark. So I don't like to get it too high, but I do like to add some contrast to make it a little more interesting. Okay. Also, if you are more interested in like the light and airy editing style, you might want to get rid of some of that contrast, because you can see that makes it look a little bit more smooth. This gives it a little bit more dimension. So that's what that can do. Okay, highlights. If I've got some really bright parts of this picture, I love to bring my highlights down just a little bit. That brings back some of the texture, but doesn't make the picture look dark. So I'm going to bring down those highlights pretty much every time. And then I'm also going to add some shadow. I really like doing this because unlike contrast, which does affect darkness but also lightness, this only darkens the dark shadows and nothing more. And so it can really take the focus off instead of being able to see grandma over here or like some of the other background elements. Bringing my shadows down are going to take away some of those distractions. Okay, whites is going to do the same thing as shadows, but it's going to increase your light colors instead of your dark colors, and I don't usually use that because I just expose for the light stuff with my exposure up here. Okay, and then I do like to increase the blacks in this a little bit. Not too much, but it's just going to make the blacks blacker and just give a little bit more contrast. Okay, we're going to slide down here and go to clarity. I like this tool, but in very small doses. If you increase it too much, it gets out of control real fast. And if you take it away, there's just no clarity to the image. So I do like to increase it a little, but only maybe like +3 to +5. In fact, I feel like that's a little much. Maybe +2 right there. Alright, and then I am going to increase my saturation, just not a whole lot, because I don't want it to start messing with my skin tones. So right now it's kind of saturating the rest of it, but the skin tones still look pretty natural. That's what I like. Okay, the tone curve. The ideal situation for your tone curve is going to make it an S shape. So that means bringing the top part up and the bottom part down. What that's going to do is increase your it's going to basically affect your picture the way that the contrast button does if you make that S curve. I don't want quite so much of that, so I'm going to put it right about there. But I am noticing now that Lila's face is looking a little bit bright. Sorry, I keep clicking on that little arrow. So I am going to take the highlights from this and bring them down just a little bit more to make sure, maybe not quite so much, to make sure that her face is not super blown out. Okay, next is this saturation of individual colors. What that's going to do is it's going to increase those or decrease those specific colors and nothing else. So sometimes I'll bring up my reds and oranges just a little, but I'll bring down my yellows because my pictures tend to be warm anyway, and I don't need them to be quite so warm. And then I'm going to add some extra blues just to balance out that those warm tones. Okay, we're going to skip split toning today, but we are going to go to detail. There's this little box that's just like a little preview. I think right here it's this little part of the picture right there. But you can see that I definitely have some grain in my picture. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to increase my sharpening. This is sharpening the overall picture, and I usually do it somewhere in like the 40 something range. I don't like to get it too high or too low, but between 40 and 50 is usually good. And then I'm going to come to noise reduction, and I'm going to increase this by about half of what I increased the sharpening. So I find that that seems to be a good amount. That is noise reduction. So you can see it's gotten, in this preview, it's gotten rid of a lot of the grain. I don't like to get rid of all the grain because it just makes it a little bit too soft for me. But increasing it some, I'll show you. If you increase it a lot, it just is like kind of too much, I think. If you don't increase it at all, it's not enough. So I'll usually do it about 50% of what I increase the sharpening to. Okay, so in that part, that's about all that I'm going to do there. I'll go back up to the top. The other two buttons we're going to use is this one, which is the crop, and then this one, which is the Radial Filter. So with the crop first, this is where I can adjust, like I can turn my image to straighten it out. I can pull it in, I can move things around, I can increase this, anything I want to do. I can also hit, if I don't like what I've done, I can click right here and click reset, and it'll just put it back to where it was. So I'm going to just straighten that out so that it's a little bit more straight. And then when I click on that, it's just going to leave me with the cropped image, not the whole thing. If I click on it again though, I can keep adjusting the crop. Okay. And now I'm going to click on the Radial Filter. This is by far my favorite filter, my favorite probably feature of Lightroom. This is so cool. Okay, so when you click on that, make sure down here that you've got the invert clicked. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to draw a circle, any shape or size. You can adjust it however you like once it's on there. But what you can do with that is you can adjust all the adjustments we just did, but only specifically inside of this circle. So like I might bring this down a little bit so we can see the contrast a little better. Increase my contrast, add a little more shadow, add a little bit of black, and then maybe add, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Then maybe a little bit of sharpness so that that area specifically is more sharp than the rest. Okay, and then I maybe also am going to do a little bit on her face. So I can grab that circle. I'm going to bring that in now. And increase the sharpness, increase my exposure, well, maybe not, and do some blacks. Okay, so I think that looks really good. Now what that's going to do is I've got specific focus right here and right here now. And let me show you. If you click right here, it's going to give us a before and after. So you can see the original was pretty decent, but the edit is so much stronger. The colors are better and clearer, it's sharper, it's just a much stronger image than this original was. Okay, now here's a cool feature. If you press copy and copy again, oh, we can go back to just the regular screen. Those settings, all of these settings we just did, are saved. Nothing up here on this toolbar, but all this stuff, the exposure, contrast, sharpness, all that good stuff is saved. So then any other picture that I have in the same lighting situation, for example, like this one, I can just click paste, and it's going to paste those colors, those exact settings. So then you can just adjust it quickly. That looks pretty good. I am also going to adjust on this one, do a radial filter on Lila's face because poor little duckling, she is so much paler than the rest of her sisters. So we have to make her not neon. Okay, and then that looks good. And then maybe I'll do like one or two more just because I can and it will be fast. So maybe I'll do this one. I'll make a few faces in this one. But you can see, and then if I want to adjust anything, like maybe my contrast or my exposure, I can totally do that. Maybe crop it a little bit. Okay, so I've just edited 3 pictures super fast. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to library, and I'm going to hold down my control key, and I'm going to click on any of the pictures that I've edited. So this one's been edited because you can see the little box here. So I'm going to click on that one, and this one, and this one. Since I held down control, it saved all 3 of those. And then I'm going to push export. Okay, now while I'm here, I'm going to export, choose the location. I'm going to pick a specific folder, and then I'm going to choose which folder I want to use. So I'm going to go to desktop, and I'm going to go to, let's see, oh, here's the folder, Girls Painting. Select the folder, and then I'm going to come down here, I'm going to choose rename, and then I'm going to choose custom name dash sequence. What that means is that I can now change the name of my picture. So I'm going to do Girls Painting March 10th so that that's easier for me to, like, for my storage purposes. And I'm going to start at number 1. And then all three of these pictures are going to save out as Girls Painting March 10th -1, and then -2, and then this -3. So it will rename all of those in order, and it's going to save them out as JPEGs, which is why we're exporting, not saving, because it's converting them to JPEGs. So I'm going to click Export. Right here you can see that it's exporting it. So I'm going to go ahead and export those right to the folder we just saved it to. Okay. And almost done. And perfect. Okay, and we're done. So I'm going to close Lightroom. And if I come here to this folder, here's all three of those pictures saved right here. And I can just take a look right at them. And you can see all of those are saved and they look fantastic. They look really good. And that is how I save pictures to Lightroom, or how I edit in Lightroom. So let me know if you have any questions.